Hi, this is Christy Matthews, ChristyJMatthews.com. Got a question for you. Do you write a blog post? How many write blogs? If you write a blog, would you type yes in the comments? And if you don't write a blog, put no. So the topic today is 6 tips for writing an awesome blog post. So there's a formula to writing a good blog post. I know it took me a long time to figure this out, and it took just observing those that have tremendous, turnover and visitors to their blog, like Neil Patel. I mean, he's like the expert. So when you want to know what is working for the experts, you go and you investigate and you learn. So here's what I've learned. First of all, you got to start with the title. Now, when I first learned how to blog, I was just told, just blog, just write. Well, no, what you really need to do is come up with the title and then write to the title. That's the best thing to do. See, 8 to 10 people will actually look at the title first before they decide to read. So your title has to be compelling enough for them to even consider looking at the blog post. And then 2 out of 10 people will actually click onto the blog and start to scan the blog and see if it's something that they want to read. So your title is extremely important. You need to have a good headline or a title. And, if you're looking for inspiration, a good place to go is to go to the grocery store and look at magazines and like the Enquirer and so forth. They pay their copywriters a lot of money to come up with compelling headlines that grab readers' attention. And I have found that the magazines that are up by the check stands are the ones that have earned those places because they're the ones that convert better than the ones that are back in the magazine section within the store. So pay attention to them, get a look at them to get inspiration. Maybe pick up a copy or two, especially in the weight loss arena. You can find all kinds of headlines that pull readers into reading their material. Also, the other type of titles that work really well are how-tos and lists, like today's 6 tips on how to write an awesome blog post. How to write an awesome blog post. Those are always the ones that seem to work best in our space. And you want to create a few title variations as well. Test out a couple of titles between your friends, your family, your colleagues, and see which ones seem to resonate better with them. If you're a solopreneur, you don't have a copywriting team, so you do need to kind of rely on those who are close to you. Second, you need to have an introduction, a hook, if you will. So what is it that the reader's going to be reading about? So, for instance, do you want to have the perfect formula on how to write a blog post? Or do you want to have the formula that will allow your blog post to get 37,000 visitors a month? That type of thing. So you also want to cover what's going to be covered in the blog post so that the reader knows what they're going to be getting once they spend some time on your post. The third section is the actual body. Now, your blog post needs to have a lot of subheadings, and the reason for this is that most people scroll through. So if they can see the subheadings and they have an idea of what is within that section, that will help the reader stay on your blog post. You also want to keep your paragraphs 5 to 6 sentences at most, okay? And if you're using WordPress, there are guides in there that will tell you, it will give you a reading ease formula. You'll go ahead and you'll look down the bottom of the blog post and it will tell you if your blog is easy to read, more difficult to read, too many sentences. It will kind of guide you on how to make your blog post more appealing. 4, you want to link out to other sites. Link out to those that you may have gotten inspiration from to write your blog post. Or if you're writing a how-to, maybe you've got some other examples from other services and so forth that maybe you use and you're writing about. Let's say maybe an autoresponder, for instance, and That's part of your blog post, and you're talking about an autoresponder. You might want to link to that autoresponder service in there just because it builds credibility to what you're writing about. Okay? And fifth is the conclusion. You want to summarize what was in the article. Research has indicated that most people will not only look at the titles, they will, if they click on to the blog post, so that's 2 out of 10, and they will scroll down to the bottom of the page and look at the conclusion. And if they find that the conclusion is interesting, then they'll go back and look at the blog post. So you want to write a conclusion. You also want to have the subheading that says conclusion. Okay, this way that people know that that's the end of the blog post. And then you want to end your blog post with a question, with a question mark. Ask a question at the end of your conclusion, such as, did you get some value from this video or this blog post, for instance? Tell me what was your, the best tip that you got from this. You ask a question. It will get more engagement, and it will lead people to getting sales when you have engagement on your blog. And then the last one is that you want to link to other sources in which you've got information from. It's a form of flattery, and also it's a way to get your blog shared by others, because if you go ahead and you link out, let's say Neil Patel, for instance, and you email Neil Patel and say, hey, I was so inspired by your content that I went ahead and I wrote about it in my blog. Here's a link to my blog. I'd really appreciate you sharing it with others. So that's your 6 tips. So if you got some value from today's post, today's video, I should say, would you please leave a comment and let me know what was the most valuable tip that you got? And will you, if you're not blogging, will you start blogging now, or has it changed the way that you feel about blogging? So I really appreciate you being here. If you liked today's video, would you do me a favor? Give it a thumbs up, give it a like, share it with others. And if you're watching here on YouTube, if you would please subscribe to my channel, I greatly appreciate that. So you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.